Okay, welcome back in. I'm going to be reviewing Friday's action from the National Hockey League. There were a number of games, so let's dive right in. Starting in Philadelphia as the Flyers played host to the New York Rangers. Bobby Brink would kick things off in the first period, getting his fourth goal of the season, assisted by Forster, 3:14 of the opening frame. Travis Konechny would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 12th goal of the year, assisted by Couturier and Ristolainen, 4:24 of the opening frame. In the second period, Vincent Trocheck would finally get the Rangers on the board, getting his fifth goal of the year, assisted by Cooley and Schneider, 10:20 of the middle frame. Late in the third, the Rangers were down by one. They would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not pan out, as Travis Konechny would get his second goal of the game, his 13th of the season, an empty netter, assisted by Travis Sanheim. And that goal happened with 28 seconds to go in the game. So 3-1 would be the final in favor of Philly. The Minnesota Wild played host to the Chicago Blackhawks. In the first period, Ryan Donato would open up the scoring for the Blackhawks, getting his ninth goal of the season, assisted by Bertuzzi, 2:23 of the opening frame. He would get his second goal of the game in the second period, getting his 10th of the season, a power play goal from Vlasic and Bedard, 5:43 of the second. Marco Rossi would cut the lead to 2-1, getting his seventh goal of the season from Johansson and Kaprizov, 10:22 of the middle frame. Just 17 seconds after that, Jared Spurgeon would get his first goal of the season. The captain, assisted by Boldy and Eriksson, 10:39 of the second period, tying the game up at 2. He would then get his second goal of the season, his second goal of the night from Eriksson and Foligno, 17:33 of the second period. It would end up being the game-winning goal. There was no scoring in the third, so 3-2 would be the final from the state of many lakes. All right, the Buffalo Sabres played host to the Vancouver Canucks. Bowen Byram would score late in the first with 2.5 minutes to go, getting his fourth of the year, assisted by Benson, putting Buffalo on top 1-0. Jake DeBrusk would tie the game up in the second, getting his seventh goal of the season, assisted by Pius Sutter and Brock Besser, 18:12 of the middle frame. Connor Garland would give Vancouver their first lead of the night, getting his seventh goal of the season, a power play goal from Besser and Quinn Hughes, 5:15 of the third. Pius Sutter would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his eighth goal of the year, assisted by Garland exactly 9 minutes into the third period. The Canucks had a 3-1 lead at that point. Dylan Cousins would make it 3-2, or cut the lead to 3-2, getting his fifth goal of the year from Clifton, 13:18 of the third period. And then with just over 5 minutes to go, Alex Tuch would tie the game up, getting his eighth goal of the season, assisted by Cousins and Benson, and that goal happened 14:57 of the third period. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Connor Garland would end up getting the game-winning goal, his eighth of the year, assisted by Hughes and Pettersson, 3:59 into the overtime frame. So despite the fact the Canucks blew a 2-goal lead, they would actually end up winning this in overtime. All right, now we're off to Detroit as the Red Wings played host to the New Jersey Devils. In the first period, Vladimir Tarasenko would get his third goal of the season, a power play goal from Petrie and JT Compher, 3:41 of the opening frame. Lucas Raymond would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his seventh goal of the year from Tarasenko and Kasper, 9:22 of the first period. Dougie Hamilton would cut the lead to 2-1, getting the Devils their first goal of the game, his fourth of the season, a power play goal from Hischier and Jack Hughes, 16:05 of the first period. With exactly 2 minutes to go, Timo Meier would tie the game up at 2, getting his eighth goal of the year, a power play goal from Luke Hughes and Thomas Tatar. In the second, Tyler Mott would get his first goal as a member of the Detroit Red Wings, putting the Detroit up on top, 3-2, getting his first goal, as I said, from Sherratt and JT Compher, a minute 26 seconds into the middle period. Nico Hischier would tie the game up at 3, getting his 14th of the season from Meyer and Kovacevic, 11:10 of the second period. Stefan Neeson would get his 11th goal of the season unassisted, 16:49 of the second, putting the Devils up 4-3 at that point. In the third period, Jack Hughes would increase the lead to 5-3, getting his ninth of the year, a power play goal from Hamilton and Bratt, 3:05 of the third period. Justin Hall would get his first goal of the season for Detroit, assisted by Kopp and DeBrincat, 3:27 of the third period. Unfortunately, the Red Wings were not able to tie the game up, so 5-4 would be the final score. The Washington Capitals played host to the New York Islanders. In the first period, Simon Holmstrom would get his fourth of the season from Lee, 3:36 at the first, putting the Islanders up 1-0. Nick Dowd would tie the game up at 1, getting his sixth goal of the season from Miro Shinchenko and Duhaime, 4:50 of the first period. Tom Wilson would break the tie, 12:10 of the first period, getting his eighth of the season, a power play goal from McMichael and Dylan Strome, putting the Capitals up 2-1. Early in the second, Anders Lee would tie the game up at 2, getting his ninth of the season from Dobson and George, a minute and 15 seconds in the middle frame. Kyle McLean would break the tie with 3.5 minutes to go in the second, getting his first of the year, assisted by Horvat and Lee. With just under 2 minutes to go in the second, the Islanders would take a 4-2 lead, courtesy of Holmstrom, who would get his fifth goal of the year from Chilkowski and Bo Horvat. In the third period, Washington would cut the lead to 4-3, courtesy of Dylan Strome, getting his eighth of the year, a power play goal from Chichurkin and McMichael, a minute and 20 seconds into the third frame. Tom Wilson will get his second goal of the night, his ninth of the season from Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Connor McMichael, 7:24 of the third period, tying the game up at 4. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Jacob Chichurkin would get the game-winning goal, his seventh of the season from Strome and Carlson, a minute and 20 seconds into the overtime frame, so the Capitals would win 5-4. Carolina Hurricanes played host to the Florida Panthers. In the first period, Jesper Boqvist would get his fourth goal of the season from Lundell, 2:26 of the opening frame. Seth Jarvis would tie the game up at 1, still in the first, getting his seventh goal of the season, a power play marker from Aho and Shane Gothisberg, 5:42 of the opening frame. Sam Reinhart would break the tie, giving Florida their second lead of the night, his 18th of the season from Barkov, putting them up 2-1, 9:05 of the first period. Crowder Verhaeghe would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his seventh goal of the season from Kachuk and Ekblad, 11:21 of the first period. Sean Walker would cut the lead to 3-2, getting his second goal of the season from Roslovic and Shane Gothisberg, 6:24 of the middle period. Eric Robinson would tie the game up at 3, getting his sixth goal of the season from Chatfield and Blake, 17:18 of the middle frame. In the third period, AJ Greer would break the tie, getting his third goal of the year, assist by Balinskis, if I'm not pronouncing that name incorrectly, 4:58 of the third period, putting the Panthers up 4-3. Anton Lundell will get a shorthanded goal, his eighth of the season from Luosterainen and Ekblad, 9:08 of the third period. Florida had a 5-3 lead at that point. Carolina would pull their goalie down by 2. Unfortunately, it did not pan out as Sam Bennett would get the empty net goal, his 11th goal of the season, assist by Rodriguez and Luosterainen. And that goal happened with just 7 seconds to go in the game, so the Panthers would double up on the Hurricanes, 6-3. The Columbus Blue Jackets played host to the Calgary Flames. Now, this would have been a bit of an emotional game because obviously in the offseason, the passing of Johnny Gaudreau, the two teams he played for, I'm pretty sure this is the first time these two teams played against one another. So I'm sure it was a little, I'm sure it was different to say the least, without having Gaudreau in either of those teams' lineups. So in the first period, Adam Fantilli would open up the scoring for Columbus, getting his fourth goal of the year, a power play goal, assisted by Provorov, 11:56 of the first frame. Kent Johnson would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his fifth goal of the season, assisted by Sillinger, 16:42 of the first. Zach Werenski would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his eighth goal of the year from Marchenko and Voronikov, 4:43 of the middle period. Blake Coleman would finally get the Flames on the board with 5 minutes to go in the second, getting his fifth goal of the year, assisted by Anderson and Ball, cutting the lead to 3-1. Adam Fantilli would get that 3-goal lead back, getting his fifth goal of the year, assisted by Marchenko and Fabro, 4:46 of the third period, putting Columbus back up 4-1. Nazem Kadri would cut the lead in half, getting his seventh goal of the season, a power play goal from Pospisil and Wolf, with exactly 9 minutes to go in the third, making it 4-2 at that point. The Flames would pull their goal lead with just over 2 minutes to go. Unfortunately, it did not pan out as Kirill Marchenko would get credited with the goal, his ninth of the season, an empty netter, assisted by Voronikov and Werenski. And that goal happened with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go in the game, The Blue Jackets would win 5-2. The Nashville Predators played the Tampa Bay Lightning. These two teams played earlier in Tampa, and obviously they had a little tribute to Stamkos. So this was Stamkos' home game against his former team, or his first home game against his former team. Roman Josi would kick things off in the first, getting his 6th goal of the season, assisted by none other than Steven Stamkos, a minute 23 of the opening frame. Anthony Cirelli would tie the game up at 1 in the second, getting his 10th goal of the year, a shorthanded goal, assisted by Glenn Denning, 4:06 of the middle frame. Brendan Hagel would break the tie, getting his 10th goal of the year from Radish and Hedman, 8:18 of the second, giving the Lightning a 2-1 lead. Roman Josi would tie the game up, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 7th of the year, assisted by Jankowski and Evangelista, 11:20 of the second period. There was no scoring the rest of the second. There was no scoring in the third period. We'd have to get this settled in overtime. Braden Point will get the game-winning goal, his 16th of the year, a power play goal from Kucherov, a minute and 1 second into the overtime frame. So the Lightning would play spoiler once again, getting a 3-2 win over Nashville. I'm just going to say this as a quick little side note. That off-season acquisition from Tampa to Nashville for Steven Stamkos is not looking that good. And the fact that the Lightning lost their former captain and they're playing as well as they are just goes to show who really won in that off-season signing or unsigning, if that makes any sense. All right, now we're off to the Pacific Division as the Anaheim Ducks played host to the Los Angeles Kings. There was no scoring in the first, so Ryan Strome would open it up in the second, getting his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Helson and Troy Terry, 2:48 of the middle frame. Alex Turcotte would tie the game up at 1, getting his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Lafreniere, 10:46 of the middle frame. And early in the third, Alex Lafreniere would break the tie, getting his 10th goal of the year from Clark and Danault, a minute and 18 seconds into the third. And that's where it would stand at the end of regulation as Los Angeles would win 2-1. And I love both those retro logos. I think they're really cool. The San Jose Sharks played host to the Seattle Kraken. As you can see, a lot of scoring in this game. So Timothy Liljegren would kick things off for the Sharks, getting his 3rd goal of the year from Toffoli and Wenberg, 2 minutes and 7 seconds in the first frame. Oliver Bjorkstrand would tie the game up at 1, getting his 6th goal of the year, assisted by Tolvanen, 3:03 of the first frame. Klim Kostin will get his 1st goal of the season for the Sharks from Zetterlund and Ekblad, 16:25 of the first period, putting the Sharks up 2-1. Less than 30 seconds after that, Chandler Stevenson would tie the game up at 2, getting his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Schwartz. Shane Wright would break the tie late in the first, getting his 3rd goal of the year, a power play marker from Bjorkstrand and Stevenson. With 44 seconds to go on top, Seattle, I believe, took a 3-2 lead heading into the second, and I was correct. Will Smith would tie the game up at 3 in the second, getting his 4th of the year, assisted by Granlund, 2:45 of the middle frame. Shane Wright would strike again, getting his 2nd goal of the evening, another power play goal, his 4th of the season, assisted by Stevenson and Evans, 7 minutes and 20 seconds in the middle frame. Jake Wallman would tie the game up at 4, getting his 3rd goal of the year, assisted by Ekblad and Celebrini, 8:24, as I said, of the middle frame, tying the game up at 4. Michael Granlund would break the tie, getting his 5th goal of the season from Kostin and Smith, 13:10 of the second period. Celebrini would increase the lead to 6-4, getting his 8th goal of the year, assisted by Zetterlund, 14:03 of the second period. And I believe, late in the second, Yanni Dugord would cut the deficit to 6-5, getting his 3rd goal of the season from Evans and Tanev with 17 seconds to go in the third. So 11 goals scored in the first 40 minutes. That's a lot of goals. In the third, Ethan Cardwell, I believe, would get his 1st goal at the National Hockey League from Sturm and Thurn, 7:37 of the third period, increasing the lead to 7-5 in favor of San Jose. Seattle would pull their goalie with over 5 minutes to go, which sounds insane. Unfortunately, it did not pan out, and Jake Wallman would get credited with the empty net goal unassisted with 4 minutes and 47 seconds to go in the game. So 8-5 would be the final score. This is starting to feel like 1980s, 1990s all over again. It's the high-scoring games. All right, the Boston Bruins played host to the Pittsburgh Penguins. There was a lot of Black Friday games. Charlie Coyle would open up the scoring in the first, getting his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Frederick and Johnson, a minute 24 of the opening frame. Ricard Raquel would score with just under a second to go, getting his 9th of the year from Crosby and Erik Karlsson, tying the game up at 1 after 40 minutes of play. In the third, just after being recently acquired from the Nashville Predators, Tomasino would get his first goal as the Pittsburgh Penguin uniform, assisted by Malkin, 7:26 of the third period, and it would end up being the game-winning goal. So Pittsburgh would get a low-scoring win, 2-1 over Boston. The Vegas Golden Knights played host to the Winnipeg Jets. Cole Perfetti would kick things off in the first, getting his 5th goal of the year from Morrissey and Ehlers, 6:57 of the opening frame. Brett Howden would score with just under 2 minutes to go, tying the game up at 1. For Howden, that would be his 9th goal of the season, unassisted. With 16 seconds to go, Ivan Barbashev would break the tie, getting his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Dorofeyev and Jack Eichel, giving the Vegas Golden Knights a 2-1 lead heading into the second period. Cole Perfetti would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 6th of the season from Morrissey and Namestnikov, and that goal happened with 5 minutes and 32 seconds to go in the middle frame. Just under 5 minutes into the third, Ivan Barbashev would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 12th of the season from Eichel and Dorofeyev, 4:43 of the third, putting Vegas up 3-2 at that point. Neil Pionk would tie the game up at 3, getting his 4th goal of the year from Fleury and Kyle Connor, 8:55 of the third period. Brett Howden, I believe, would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 10th of the season from Karlsson and Shea Theodore, and that goal happened with 4 minutes and 5 seconds to go on the clock. So Vegas would win 4-3 would be the final score. All right, the Dallas Stars played host to the Colorado Avalanche. Tyler Seguin would kick things off in the first, getting his 9th goal of the year, a power play marker from Marchment and Duchesne, 5:36 of the opening frame. Valery Nichushkin would tie the game up at 1, getting his 3rd goal of the season, a power play goal from Rantanen and Makar, 13:56 of the first. Mason Marchment would give the Stars a 2-1 lead in the first, getting his 8th goal of the year from Heiskanen and Seguin, 14:28 of the opening period. So the Stars have the 2-1 lead heading into the second. Jamie Benn would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 5th goal of the year from Heiskanen and Sam Steele, 7 minutes and 7 seconds of the second period. With 1 minute and 18 seconds to go in the middle frame, Roope Hintz would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 9th goal of the season, a power play goal from Johnston and Jamie Benn. Just 1 minute and 2 seconds into the third, the Avalanche would cut the lead to 4-2. For Lekin, that'd be his 4th goal of the season from McKinnon and Sam Girard. Just 1 minute and 2 seconds in the third frame. Mikko Rantanen would cut the deficit to 4-3, getting his 15th goal of the season, assisted by Cale Makar, 8:03 of the third period. And I'm going to sound like a broken record. Anytime a team's down by 1 or 2 goals, they always pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it did not pan out, as Mason Marchment would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 9th of the season, unassisted, and empty net goal with 2 minutes and 33 seconds to go. 43 seconds to go. 1 minute, 43 seconds to go. There we go. I had to do my math on that one. The Stars would win 5-3. And the last game from Black Friday took place in Utah as the Hockey Club, which sounds so weird to say, took on the Edmonton Oilers. Alex Kerfoot would kick things off in the first, getting his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Stenlund, 6:17 of the opening period. Logan Cooley would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 5th goal of the year from Valimaki and Bartozo, and that goal happened with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the first. In the second, Vasily Podkolzin would finally get the Edmonton Oilers on the board over almost halfway into that period. For Paul Podkolzin, that would be his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Draisaitl and Stetcher. Speaking of Draisaitl, he would tie the game up, getting his 17th goal of the year, a power play goal from McDavid and Bouchard, and that goal happened with just under 6 minutes to go. With just over 2 minutes after that, Connor McDavid would break the tie, getting his 12th goal of the year, a power play goal from Bouchard and Perry, 16:22 of the second period. Lawson Krause would tie the game up at 3, getting his 4th goal of the season from Bustad and Mata, 3:42 of the third period. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins would get the game-winning goal unassisted a minute and 18 seconds into the opening frame, giving the Oilers a 4-3 overtime win. All right, that's going to take care of Friday's action from the National Hockey League. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.